We are here today with the Fox Army Health Center Commanding Colonel Wendy Gray. We are so excited that you're able to take just a few moments from your busy schedule and just sit and talk with us during Women's History Month. Women's History Month is so many things, and I believe that women are so many things, great things, of course. And I'm excited to talk to you today about your perspective and your journey. Just get to learn a little bit more about you.
Well, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come and allow me to impart just some words and perspective in my journey. The military has truly been an opportunity for me to sort of launch off and grow and develop, and that's truly been part of my journey from where it's brought me from and how it's allowed me to navigate life and the challenges that comes along with it and end up right where I am today. So truly an honor.
Wow, well, it's honestly our honor. How would you say that the military has helped you to launch into, a greater level in your career and just within yourself as a woman?
First and foremost, I'm the youngest of four to a single mom. I tell the story that I grew up on the west side of Anderson, Indiana, to a single mom. With a lot of different challenges that stood in my way. And so when I came into the military, it was a lot like a lot of other people. It was a means to an end. I came in, 2 years and 10 months was my initial contract. So I was coming in, gonna get a little money for school, and I was going back home. So 2 years in, I had an amazing sergeant major who said, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "I'm getting out." "What are you gonna do?" "I'm going home and live with my mom." "And do what?" "I don't know, work at General Motors," because I'm from the Midwest, and so that's what we're known from. And he said, "Hey, I got this opportunity. You can go to school to be an LPN in the military," which was a 91 Charlie back then. "You can get your LPN license. So if you decide to get out then, you'll have something underneath your belt and be more marketable." So that just launched me from there. I've always been a lifetime learner, very inquisitive. And so watching the Cosby Show very early on, I was like, I'm gonna be a doctor. I'm gonna be, the Huxtables. It's gonna be me. And so that was a passion of mine. And so the military has just been that stepping stone to afford me the opportunities that whatever I desired that I wanted to be, it was an opportunity to do just that, if I could get out of my own way. So that's where my passion for just the opportunities have sort of led me in the trajectory that I've been on since then.
That's a really great story to talk about, because I feel like he gave you, I guess, some kind of mentorship at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
And so do you have any other mentors that were a major part of your journey?
Oh, so many. I think I'm an Army nurse, first and foremost. And so a lot of people would say, who is that nursing component that sort of guided you down that path? And for me, it's been different people at different levels, depending on where I was. Prior enlisted, so I had a crusty old Sergeant First Class who was like, "You cannot do this, you cannot do that." I'm one of the stubborn ones that want to test the boundaries a little bit. And so as my profession went on and navigated some things, I had Colonel Sandy McNaughton, who was my first nurse practitioner instructor, Diane Seibert, who's an instructor at U-Shoes. And from then on, it's just so many senior leaders who I've been able to lean on. Colonel Cheryl Creamer, who's retired now, Colonel Lozay Foots, Colonel Lonetta Artis, Lieutenant General Crossland, Lieutenant General Laura Potter. I mean, so many people who have just stopped and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about that?" Lieutenant General R. Scott Dingle, who is just a pourer by nature. Some amazing sergeants majors who have definitely shaped me into the officer that I am now. But I think the first mentor for me was my mom. Would not accept the status quo, mediocrity, was never a standard that I could live by. It was always, you have so much more into you, and so you have to tap into it. So many mentors in different aspects have definitely shaped me and afforded me the opportunities.
That's a wonderful thing. You know, I think a lot of times nowadays we go online to find some kind of guidance or mentorship.
Yes, ma'am.
But to have people pour into you as a person and professionally is truly a gift.
Yes, ma'am.
So with that being said, you do have a daughter.
Yes, I do.
What words of advice would you give her or young women just about women's history and the impact that they could make in this society?
First and foremost, never be afraid to fail. I think so often we get caught up that if we fail, then we've lost and we need to move on. I tell a lot of my mentees, if you've never really experienced failure, you will never really enjoy success. And so never be afraid to fail, which means try things, try new things. And a lot of times the worst enemy that you have is yourself.
Yes.
We set up some barriers thinking that we'll never obtain it, we'll never make it. And the sky is the limit. I tell her all the time, I'm your biggest cheerleader, but I'm your worst critic. And so, yes, never be afraid to fail.
That is a really great sentiment or mindset to have, especially when we address things like Black History Month, Women's History Month. The truth is that history is still being made.
Yes.
But it can't be made if we stop because we failed.
Yes.
So along your journey, what are things that have kept you motivated?
Oh my goodness. The opportunities to influence. And as I will tell people that I mentor or people who leave from or depart an organization where I am, it's two things that I tell them: to lead with excellence and to remain impactful. So a huge part of why I continue to serve is the amount of impact and influence that I have on other people. I truly believe that this is part of my purpose because I have a huge passion for people. So when I get up every day, it doesn't feel like a job. It feels like an opportunity. So that's a game changer for me.
Wow. Again, when you think about something being an opportunity and not just something that you have to show up for, I definitely do think it helps you to take it on like from a much more positive space. And it also helps you to be more kind to others too.
Yes.
So along your journey, what would be some obstacles that you have overcome that have made you a better leader?
I have several. I think certain aspects of opportunities that I wasn't afforded based off of perhaps who I am, what I look like, and the position that I was in. And so I've always said, okay, let me do my part. Let me work hard. Let me make the mark and give them an opportunity to tell me no. Tell me why they would tell me no. So when I position myself that the biggest disappointment that you can do is tell me no versus tell me yes, then that sort of changes things a little bit. And then I believe the imposter syndrome for me. The imposter syndrome. Sometimes I get in my head, am I actually good enough? Can I do the job? What if I fail? What if I mess up? And so, again, getting out of my own way. Sometimes I'm my worst enemy, and I realize that.
Okay, there's a lot. There's a lot that's there. And I think that a lot of women would agree with you in this, right? Especially when it comes to leadership positions, because there is often some form of opposition, or do you deserve to be in this position? When you're talking about imposter syndrome, and we see so many things on social media, we see so many things just in everyday life. How do you wake up every day and still show up authentically?
My foundation is not in people. It's not in situations or circumstances. It's in my faith in God. And I can tell you, I truly believe I have a purpose in life. And as I walk in it, things just open up and it flows freely. So I start my day off with the word. That's it. Then a great workout, right? Because I believe my mindset matters. And in order to come into an organization and lead, I have to have the mindset that we're going to do great things, that regardless of what we encounter or what we deal with it, as a team, we'll navigate it together. So that has been a huge foundation for me. And that's just where my motivation comes from. And I always tell people, if I've changed the life or the mind of one person, I've done something.
Yes.
I've done something. I may not be able to capture all 186 team members that I have, but if I've changed the life and the mind of one, then I've accomplished something.
That's a great way to look at it, because usually a lot of times we're looking at quantity over quality.
Yes, ma'am.
What does Women's History Month mean to you from that sentiment, from quality over quantity?
Women's history is huge. I think I was just thinking about Ruth Ginsburg, right? And the women's equality and ensuring that we had the same opportunities as everybody else. I can tell you Brigadier General retired Clara Adams Ender, who was one of the Army Nurse Corps chiefs. And so when I look at all the things that they gave up, all the things that they sacrificed and they stood in for me to be able to have a seat at the table with everybody else that don't always look like me, some males predominantly, right, but be able to come in and they're looking at me for what my thoughts are. What do you think? What opportunities do you see, and how should we move things differently? A voice. We were having a conversation at a strategic conference last week about Harriet Tubman and how we're trying to get her moved forward and identified as a nurse, and some of the things that she did and moved forward in history is pivotal. The last thing I will mention is I was having a conversation with my sergeant major yesterday, and we mentioned my daughter. There are certain things that she will call me for. And I'll say, no, ask your dad. No, you are the only one who can truly give me the advice that I'm seeking. So women, some may value us more than others, but we've always had a pivotal role in society. And in order for us to move forward in the way that we need to, we're going to always have a seat at the table and have a voice. So it's monumental that we recognize women's equality and Women's History Month.
I agree. For a woman who may be struggling with seeing herself correctly, what words of encouragement do you have for her?
Number one, doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you end up. We all come with our own baggage. We all have our own traumas or things that we've navigated, but we can accomplish so much together as a team. I think sometimes as women, and I'll just say women, we can become where we're in competition.
Yes.
I've learned to be in collaboration. And I can tell you, my outlook and how I tell my daughter is, if you win, we've all won. If you succeeded, then we've all succeeded. And so gravitate to people who really want to be successful, and you'll be successful. Gravitate towards people who want to find answers, and you'll find answers.
Wow.
It's important.
Being in the right space and place is definitely something that is helpful to someone who's, trying to find their way. How has collaboration changed you for the better as a woman?
Oh my goodness. Number one, it's allowed me to see myself. Sometimes we don't like to do that too often. We don't like to see our flaws or some of our hang-ups. But an open and honest communication and collaboration really says, hey, what do you see in me that I need to do differently? And I do it all the time. Some of my mentors, they give it to me whether I want it or not. And sometimes it's a gut punch, but that's how we grow.
Yes.
If you give me all the great fancies, rainbows, lollipops, and unicorns, I don't grow from that. I don't grow from that. I have to get the down and dirty. What do I need to do different in order to grow, in order to prosper and to be successful? So those are huge components for me. The collaboration, what do you think? And then if we navigate it together as a team, we can get so much further than if I was just trying to take on the world by myself and get it done that way.
That's a very tiring thing to try and do.
It is. It's exhausting, right?
Yeah.
And I come up with my own words, and my new word for today is overcomable. Anything is overcomable if I am with an amazing team and we navigate it together. Because if it's just me by myself, I'm going to tire out very easily.
You bring up a great point, and I think that this will be probably a good place for us to end after we discuss this. But when we try to take on things by ourselves, so women are often so many things to everyone else. And how is it that you, as a woman in leadership, how do you navigate not taking on everything by yourself?
Some days I do it better than others. I'm surrounded by an amazing team, for one, and that's internally and externally. I have a group, and we call ourselves the pit crew. So if you think about it, a pit crew, the racing analogy, right? You got 7 members that are on your pit crew, and everybody plays a vital role. I have a pit crew. I have a pit crew that even when life becomes overwhelming, they check me. Then when I'm off kilter, they check me. I start my days off with a word and with an amazing exercise routine. My team will tell you here that they can tell if I didn't get an exercise in. I'm an adrenaline junkie, and so I feed off the endorphins. And so that is a huge component for me. And then having people surround me that really give me the hard truth. I would tell one of my first chief of staffs, like, I don't need a yes person. I need a person who's going to hold me accountable to do the right thing for the right reasons. And so knowing that I surround myself with those type of people and then having my pit crew on the side, it makes it a little bit more achievable. It does.
I really love what you're saying here, because I think that it is so easy, especially nowadays, because if you say something that someone doesn't like, you're quick to get canceled, cut off, ghosted, you know, so many things. But what you're saying is that this has been the greatest thing for you. These relationships, those conversations have been critical to you becoming who you are.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that good people, good friends, business partners, it is imperative for them to hold us accountable, to hold us to a higher standard, especially as a woman in leadership. I also think that as young women, a lot of young women are battling with friendships and relationships because so many things are seen as competition and comparison. And she didn't she didn't clap for me, or she didn't XYZ. And so feelings are hurt very easily. I think these are great words to live by, simply because that's how you not only one, become stronger within yourself, but 2, your relationships become stronger.
Yes, and for me, it's just ironic that you say that. I was just telling the team this morning that in the position I'm in, it's leadership and not likership. And for me, it's about growing the team and investing in the team. And I wouldn't be growing or investing in you if I didn't give you the honest, candid feedback. They know that I don't sugarcoat those things. I really try to be as honest and candid as possible. So you can't misconstrue what I'm saying. You will definitely know what I mean. But that's how we grow and we develop. And that's one of my fortes, but I have some amazing mentors that give it to me just the same way. When after we have conversations, they can't say, or I can't say, maybe they meant this, or maybe they meant, no, they hit the nail on the head. And I get it. But we spend so much time trying to navigate within ourselves, the last thing I need to do is be in competition with you.
Right.
I want to see you succeed. And so whatever I can do to ensure that that happens, that's what I'm going to do. And then lastly, what I can share is, and you had asked me a previous question, and being able to sit here and being impactful and influential is important to me. And I would tell the team previously, like I remember when Chadwick Boseman died.
Yes.
And everybody was like, oh my God. It was really, really sad. And it was like, why are you guys mourning so heavy? And I had to ponder it. And I was leading a different organization at the time. And I said, okay, we talk about Superman. We talk about Wonder Woman. We talk about Catwoman. We talk about Iron Man. We talk about all these things. But for me and for a lot of people like me, representation matters. And it's important that when I see the specialists out there and it's like, oh my God, ma'am, I see you. And if you can do it, I can. Representation matters. And being able to influence and emulate what right looks like at this level to ensure that I'm pouring into the next generation matters.
Wow. Well, we are thankful for the time that you have spent with us. Thank you for your wisdom and just sharing your life insight. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we
Number one, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time to come and ask me some very candid questions. I would like to thank all of my mentors, past and present, those who took chances on me. One of the things I really try to see is providing people grace. Wendy Gray didn't always get it right. I didn't always have the right answers. I've made tons and tons of mistakes, but I've had some amazing leaders who provided me with some grace. Second chances are awesome, but when they give you a third one, that's even better. So give yourself some grace along the way. That's one word of wisdom that I will impart. Give yourself some grace. You're not going to always get it right the first time, but you got to keep trying. And then secondly, get out of your own way.
Well, thank you for your time.
Welcome.
And hopefully we can chat again soon.
Yes, ma'am.